Sports stories from the 419 in Northwest Ohio, brought to you by a voice you know. It's time to go around the area and around the Hearn.
Hello there, and welcome to episode 149 of Around the Hearn. I've got a couple of big guests to get to. In just a couple of minutes, you'll hear from St. Mary's girls soccer coach Nick Wilson. Keep in mind, this is taken before his team's big battle with Ottawa-Glandorf that they fell on a Thursday night. And Coldwater standout, and now Northern Kentucky slugger Braylen Harlamert. Those are the two gentlemen coming up here in just a few, and we're going to get right to it. They're on the other side of this break. Thank you for listening to Around the Hearn. At Lee Kitzel Sales and Service, 650 West Irvin Road in Van Wert, we guarantee our best price for every new Chevrolet and GMC every day, always. At Lee Kitzel's, we also guarantee you'll come back happy with our service after the sale and earn top dollar for your trade-in, no matter what condition it's in. Not sure what's right for your next vehicle? Stop on out at 650 West Irvin Road and let our trained and helpful sales professionals put you in the right vehicle today, or browse online at leekitzel.com. Chevrolet, together, let's drive. Back now as we switch into the world of baseball, and a 24 grad and a regional finalist from a season ago, and one of my favorite players to get to cover, and Braylen Harlamert. Now, something about college baseball at the Northern Kentucky University level. And first of all, congratulations for all your hard work paying off.
Yep, thank you. So.
What's that process like for you where you go through and you have that elbow injury and you've got kind of that time and you're just thinking about having to sit and watch baseball? How much did that drive you insane?
Oh, that was honestly probably one of the worst 3 weeks of my life. I've been blessed for a time to not really have any injuries. And 18 games into the season, we're getting really hot. Right before a couple big conference games, boom, I get hit with obviously the elbow injury that took me out, and honestly, I didn't know if I was going to be able to come back and play because I knew it was fairly dislocated. Fortunately enough, there wasn't any real damage in my elbow, but obviously sitting out and just kind of watching the team was pretty brutal, and we lost a couple games, and I kind of just felt like, I mean, it sucked. You just standing in the dugout and you can't do anything, but I mean, it is what it is. I worked hard in rehab and was fortunate enough to come back for the tournament run. So,
well, it's probably because instead of having two Harlamerts stealing everything in sight, you guys only had one stealing as much as he could.
Yep. Oh, AJ definitely did a good job, though. So, but
I know I got to see you guys a handful of times this year, and one of those games was Finley that you were missing. And I remember AJ tried to steal, I think, even from the concession stand that night. It felt like if it was within a 500-yard span of where we were, he was going to try to take everything.
Correct. I think he tied the school record that night with 7 bags.
100% positive that that's true, because it's very possible that I may have heard your entire family standing there repeating that fact.
Yep. But I think he did get talked to once tonight. He told me before the game, because we were watching the catch you throw, he's like, any chance I get, I'm going. And he got on base a couple times, and that's what he did. He stole right away and wasn't waiting around. So
you had 20 stolen bases this year, though, too. Was it annoying to you to watch because you immediately go into playing mode of I watched it and I'm thinking about my first step and how I would have just taken it?
Correct. Yeah, obviously me being a base stealer myself too. I mean, I talk to him all the time about it, but before I got injured, I was beating him or leading in the stolen bases, and then having catch up to me is kind of just a little smack in the back, but it's great. I mean, it's just brotherly love and just competing. That's what we've been doing for a long time. So, but yeah.
What's crazy, the MAC Position Player of the Year, first team All-Ohio, with coming back, I mean, you guys did something you've not been able to do since 2019. What is it? What's special about Coldwater baseball that maybe people don't realize?
It's just a big community thing. Every year we got a lot of guys that come back, and every year there's new guys coming up, and there's always a competition. Younger guys are always pushing the older guys, and we always just find a really good team, and we're blessed to have really good coaches, leading with Coach Klinke and obviously Coach Aaron Harlamert and Coach Hummelgren. We got a great coaching staff and a great community around us to support us and come to our games, and that's why it's just an honor to play for the Cavs.
Anybody who knows me knows that I've said repeatedly that Braylen Harlamert is one of my all-time favorite people. With him being gone, what was that transition like to having a new head coach? Obviously not a new personality, but kind of things being a little bit different, maybe from, jokingly of, well, Coach Harlamert would have done it this way.
Definitely, it was definitely a shock, obviously, during that time, but we all knew, all the baseball guys knew. I've been around Coach Klinke since I was probably 6 years old, loved the guy to death, one of the best guys I know. So knowing that he would be the next head coach was obviously a great feeling. And we had all the confidence in the world in him and our new coaching staff. But obviously it's a little different, not seeing Brian and your uncle at third base. But Coach Klinke's done a great job so far, and he's really keeping the program at the expectations. So
I've asked Corey this, and he declined to answer, but which one of the two of them is kind of the funnier, looser guy to you? Because Brian would say some things that I would just kind of chuckle of, you didn't really mention that to the kids, did you?
Funnier of the two. Obviously, they're both really serious when it comes to the game time and the ball field. But, geez, I'd probably say I'd rather not piss off Coach Harlamert as much as I would Coach Klinke, because honestly, I look at Coach Klinke as another one of my teammates / brothers because he's a little bit younger. But I love them both to death. And obviously, Brian just being a little older and being my uncle, I definitely didn't want to make him mad.
Yeah, I didn't want to cross him either when he was texting me for scouting reports a week before you guys would play people. But talking to Braylen Harlamert, you guys have had obviously a ton of success, the second winningest program in OHSAA history. You go through kind of a transformation in which you hit 427 last year, but you kind of move in the lineup. I mean, what is it about the way that Coldwater baseball is set up to becoming kind of that leadoff guy of, okay, now I have to set for everyone else?
My sophomore and junior year, I was batting in the 2-hole, and I love the 2-hole, obviously. But coming to senior year, I was probably going to be the guy to get on base for the most part, most frequently. And obviously I knew I wanted to be a leadoff guy because leadoff guy sets the tone, and I wanted to be the first guy in the box against that pitcher and set the tone, come back to the dugout with knowledge for the guys. And that's just something I like to do. And I was pretty fortunate enough to get on base and bring a lot of good info back to the guys in the dugout after my first at-bat, being the first one to see the pitcher. So I definitely loved being a leadoff batter for sure.
Outside of the success of the team, getting to play with your uncles, your cousins, your brothers, I mean, pretty much everybody you've ever been related to, what is the one thing you kind of look back at now that you're a high school graduate and you're in college of, man, this is the thing I'm really going to miss the most about Coldwater?
Definitely, obviously playing with Adrian my whole life, but when I had the opportunity to play with Evan, my other cousin, obviously for my sophomore and junior year, that was really cool. And obviously being coached behind Brian, that was definitely the coolest thing, especially when we got the chance to play Troy, and Owen was on the other side of the diamond. We were playing him too. That's probably one of my favorite games we ever played. And obviously Troy was a big game for us, and Evan came out through a gem, and we were fortunate enough to come away with a big win against them guys. And I'd say that was probably one of my most memorable games. Obviously all the Harlamerts out there, and it was just a great time, and it's been a blessing to play with all them guys and be coached by everyone. So
one of my favorite kids to watch, because he's just so infectious with his personality, is Cale Wenning, and the unfortunate passing in the last couple of weeks. Tell people a little bit about how Cale was as a teammate and as a person, because everybody that I've heard stories from just have some just amazing beaming stories about his just infectious nature.
Cale was definitely a guy you wanted to have on your team, in your locker room, in your dugout. He was a vocal leader and definitely somebody that you looked up to. Me being a senior, definitely last year on the football field as well, I could always count on him to be a guy to rely on and trust. He did a great job on the mound this year for us too. It's really unfortunate, obviously, what happened to him, but definitely just a great kid and an even better person to have on your team, and just really unfortunate what happened to him. But obviously just a great friend, loyal teammate, and just a great kid.
People have said the secret to Coldwater's success across the state must be that they recruit. I say I don't think you've been anywhere near there. What is it that you guys are able to bottle up? I mean, is it just you grow up, you play every sport together, you're around each other, it's just sports is what Coldwater does? Or, I mean, is there some kind of magic potion to the whole thing?
Definitely wouldn't say that. Our football and baseball team, my senior year, every player started in kindergarten and went all the way through high school. So we didn't have anybody like move in, I guess you can say. And that's just what it is. You're playing with your brothers for a long time, and you just build so much team chemistry and a bond, and you just want to win. And that empowers like a lot of teams, obviously, but it's just second nature. Honestly, you're going out there and you're playing baseball. I mean, it goes from wiffle ball in the backyard to a big field when you're a senior in high school. I mean, it's the same game. It doesn't change. It's just a little bit easier when you're playing with guys that you've been doing it with for a long time. So
you told the guys at Prep Baseball Report that you pretty much knew you went to Findlay, went to a PBR camp, and then you had that big year. You didn't have any offers, but you knew you wanted to be D1. You could work. You could get there. What's the separation, though, for you, though? Because, you know, a lot of kids will say, hey, I'm going to be D1, I'm going to be this, but you were able to make that happen. What was the leap for you?
I'd say my hitting. I hit really well this year. Was fortunate to finish with, I think, 18 or 19 extra base hits. And I feel like that was a good stat that can maybe get recognized by a lot of colleges. And fortunately enough, that comes with a lot of time and preparation in the cages and outside hours. I can't tell you how many times me, AJ, and Dad would just go to the cages. We used to have a batting cage in our backyard, actually, and we just hit and hit and hit. And that's try something I suggest to younger players is put in the extra time. I mean, key work is the best advice I can use for anybody. So just extra time and putting the work in definitely helps.
I joked during one of the games the last couple of years with that combo up the middle of AJ and with you of catching and infielding. It seemed like you guys took anybody trying to run on you personally and that you were going to make it your mission to just destroy whatever they wanted to do. Is that fair?
I like to say so, yes. I don't know. It definitely wasn't a lot of guys that attempted to run on AJ, and if they did, they probably weren't going to be safe. And if they did find a way to get to second base on a steal somehow, we definitely had a little signal for a back pick, and that worked a lot too. But I think it was a little unfair because we got something I like to call twin telepathy, so we basically know it's coming.
That's kind of where I was going with that. I was waiting to see if that was going to come out because I had a couple of people say, "Wait a second." Because, you know, you get a lot of names in Mercer, Auglaize County, Shelby, Dark, whatever, that are the same, but aren't necessarily related in the same household. And people would always ask, are they related? And I was like, just go look at them.
Yeah.
But that's kind of cool, though. I mean, to be able to do that. And you put that work in and you get to NKU. How's that going for you?
Oh, it's great. I think we're 2 weeks into individuals, so basically just hitting, and we do like testing weeks, so like running sprints and 60s and exit velos. But it's great. I love it. Coaches are phenomenal. Meeting all the guys. Workouts are tough, but it's making me a better person and making me stronger. And I'm really looking forward to the future here. So
really curious to know. There's a specific football game for you that you guys have an odd thing of everybody having to be that next man up, but having to come in and almost immediately throwing a touchdown pass. What's that moment like for you?
Oh, geez. That game against Versailles was definitely something I'll never forget. Obviously, I hadn't played quarterback since 7th grade, and Marcel went down, and Chipper told me, hey, you're playing quarterback, do what you can. And fortunately enough, it wasn't just me. I got bailed out a lot of times by receivers that game. Blade Butcher being that first touchdown I threw, the ball was tipped up, and he kind of went up and grabbed it. But that was definitely a very memorable night and something I'll remember forever, that's for sure.
Chip said that for a long time that he couldn't tell you guys apart unless you had your jerseys on. By the time you graduated, did he figure it out?
I think so, definitely. Being around us for long enough, there's obviously differences, just even posture and how we just go about our business. But I definitely can say for sure that he probably can tell us apart.
Well,
At least I hope so. I've never asked him. But.
He'd probably tell you the truth. He's a great dude. I've always marveled at between Brian, and now with Corey and with Nick Fisher. You guys have amazing not only head coaches, but just great men leading your programs.
Yeah, I mean, these guys they're leading us on and off the field, obviously. On the field, they're just great role models and people you strive to be. But off the field, they're even better people in the community. Obviously, Chip and Brian and Nick, they do all kinds of stuff out of the community. They're just great guys. I mean, you can just sit around them and just be able to talk to them like they're just another guy. You don't have to treat them like your coach off the field. You can just enjoy the conversations with them and just have a good time, and that's what's so great about those guys.
Well, I can tell you I immensely enjoyed being able to cover your high school career, and I wish you the best in college.
Yep. Thank you, Michael.
There's only one part I had to edit out of that. Back in a minute. You're on K94. The Red Pig Inn at 1470 North Perry Street in Ottawa has been serving the area award-winning ribs for over 50 years. But the Red Pig is so much more than ribs, with their diverse menu including fish, steaks, burgers, and pizza. The patio is now open for parties or just to hang out with your friends. You can also book your Titan trolley trips at the Red Pig. And the WZOQ Zoo Crew show returns on Wednesdays, as well as select Lady Titan soccer and volleyball games on the big screen. The Red Pig Inn, 1470 North Perry Street in Ottawa, 419-696-1002. Big week of high school sports, and nothing bigger than a Thursday nights, as it'll be Ottawa Glandorf playing host to St. Mary's, and a likely chance that this is going to go a long way to determine how the girls' side of the Western Buckeye League turns out in soccer. Talking now to the head coach of undefeated at St. Mary's in the league at 3-0, and Nick Wilson. And you guys have had a big week, and you're getting ready for an even bigger potential party on Thursday night.
Yeah, it's we're in one of those stretches of a Saturday, Tuesday, Thursday, Monday, Thursday, Saturday stretch here, I think. So it's you usually run into one of those every season, and this just kind of happens where we're at. So it's no rest for the wicked.
It is such an odd thing with the way that soccer goes, because you're trying to put all those games in a 2.5 month span when you go from the start of the season to the time that you get to the state finals. But to look at that, I mean, OG had that where they played one game last week and then they're playing Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Does that give you an extra chance to the teams that they're playing against maybe scout something you might not have known going into your game?
I don't know. It's a challenge just in general. You know, the preparation time that we have on a quiet week is definitely helpful. We might be able to sneak out and do a little scouting, but you know, when you start throwing these games, you know, with 1 day in between, it's the challenge is in you know, you can't work them too hard the game before, you can't work them too hard the game after. So yeah, it's a definite balancing act to find that sweet spot, and I wish there were a little more time, and you know, we had a little more option to get out there and see more of these other teams in person. But I guess it just is what it is there.
Well, and then of course you each have those very odd WBL Monday night games this week, where you guys had Wampauck and they had Elida. Is that just a quirk in the schedule? Because I know that's pretty much the only Monday that anybody sees this year.
Yeah, it happens every year. We might have another one on a Monday, and let me just say, I hate Monday games. You know, it's such a, you know, there's no prep time beforehand, so you don't have that, you know, the practice before the night before to kind of get things in order. And you know, you show up on a Monday, and everyone, I mean, it's Monday, right? So everyone is, you know, kind of in that they have the Sunday scaries, and they work themselves into Monday, and they have to go play, you know, a league game, and you know, we just had to you know, travel across the county here to tackle the, you know, rival of Wapak, who always brings us a good game. So yeah, I hate Monday games.
Well, and it doesn't help too, because the other Monday game that you're talking about, I was just looking at your schedule, is Shawnee at home, and obviously they're very good. And,
that's it.
You know, you guys
Right.
wouldn't have played since Thursday when you played Columbus
Right.
Grove. I mean, that's a pretty good 1-2, I think, in that 4-day span.
You betcha. Yeah, and we've talked in the past. I try to schedule a tough schedule. It's kind of why we're where we're at as an overall record at 5-4. We've had some tough competition that hopefully pays off for us in spades as we get deeper in the season and deeper down the tournament trail, hopefully. But you've done this long enough, and especially with your connection covering on so many of the OG games, that the WBL is brutal. And if you don't bring it each of your games, there's a good chance that you might go home, with a loss under your belt. So, when you throw a Wapak and a Shawnee on a Monday, it is what it is. I think we've always had it that way as a double WBL week for us, but I'm not a fan.
Well, and it's another hard thing, too, because I'm kind of curious. You guys open with Dublin Jerome, who they're very good. You go down there, it's an 8-goal setback, and then you turn around. You have 6 days to figure out Liberty Benton, who's got some really good pieces. That game ends up as a heartbreaker and a 4-3 loss. Sorry, I don't use the soccer terminology of you lost 3-4 because that's kind of ridiculous to me, but I mean,
I've heard that. Yeah.
You've heard that from me, but
Correct,
I mean, that's, what was that time like for you guys between you have those 2 games and then you have to turn around and get ready for what is always a pretty good Botkins team and then Salina? I mean, that's a heck of a first 11 days.
Yeah. And on top of that, we're, just like everybody else, I guess it's not too different, but, we're attempting to fill the void of 2 pretty stellar players that are no longer with the program. They've moved on to the college ranks at Heidelberg and Wright State. So every year it's a finding new pieces and filling in here and changing the system to accommodate the personnel that you have and the skill set that you have. And somebody really should talk to our coach about scheduling, your opening game on football Friday night down at Dublin Jerome, because he's a little silly in doing so. But that being said, we learned a lot about who we were, and my favorite part about coming away from that Dublin game, besides the bus not starting after that drubbing that we took. Aside from that, the girls kept a tremendous attitude through the whole process of pretty much getting it handed to us. So you get a chance to, that was a Friday night, so we had Saturday, Sunday to kind of lick our wounds and then come back and start looking at some of the pieces. And we did some really nice things down at Dublin. And quite honestly, it was we gave the chance to some other players to play. So that goal differential was a little more out of hand maybe than it could have been overall. But that's neither here nor there. It gave us a chance to see where we were at and some of the ideas that we potentially went in with. We had to make some tweaks and some shifts and changes. But you're having that little break gave us a chance to work on some of those with having to get ready for that next little onslaught. And here we are. We're sneaking up to halfway through the season, and we're just a tick over 500, but we're still right in the thick of things with the WBL. So I'll take that any day of the week.
Talking to St. Mary's head coach Nick Wilson, who you might not realize we had to go through a little bit of rigmarole to get to where he has good signal, because it is 8:30 on a Tuesday night as we are talking, and he's actually still at the soccer complex watching the boys' game, because that's how committed he is to getting any kind of soccer in, right? That's what it is?
Well, it's our boys we try to support each other, and we do a pretty good job. There was a slew of the boys at the game last night in Wapak, and we share a practice facility, or we're ships passing the night, from the end of their practice to the beginning of ours. So the fact that our practice field is right here gives us a chance to, we wrapped up practice at 7:00, and I like to slide over and just kind of take a peek and see how things are going. They just put another one in the back of the net, so they're up 2-0 against Wapakoneta right now. So it's good stuff. I can't get enough.
You get a big 4-game winning streak where you outscore your opponents 20-4. Pretty good teams in Bakken, Salina Bell, Fountain, and Defiance. That heartbreaker with Bryan and Troy in that span, but you come back and you beat Wapak. It's a big week in St. Mary's this week because obviously, Wapak there, and then you've got maybe a thing that a handful of coaches have where you have that big matchup on Thursday, but it's homecoming weekend. So is that anything that, the girls are even thinking about or looking at, or do you even have to say anything when they see the schedule and go, no, we have OG first?
If I could know the answer to that, I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you. I'd be on the beach in Maui somewhere, because if I could figure out the high school girls soccer brain on a day-to-day basis, you have a daughter, you're going to get to experience this yourself.
Already having that happen.
You just don't know. There's so much going on in this world, and I just had a conversation with the athletic director and one of my other friends here, just how social media plays such a wicked role in these kids' lives that they a lot of times they show up to the facility with all kinds of negative stuff going on in their worlds because of social media, and I love it when a player tells me that this is their happy space, their happy place, their happy time where they can get away from some of that other stuff. But I don't know where they're at. I shouldn't say that, because I heard as practice concluded, one of them holler, "He just texted me." So that means that somebody is either getting a homecoming date or on that right path. So you couldn't pay me $1 million to go back and be a kid, especially with social media as it is. But I think it's a challenge for them to show up and turn a lot of that stuff off. And you can always tell the ones that can. They're pretty good about just turning off the outside noise and getting to business. But I think they're pretty focused, and I left them with a pretty stern talk at the end of practice that they're going to have to bring their A game for all minutes involved, and hope we can squeak out of the confines of OG with a victory. But it's going to take everything from everybody every second of the game.
I would think by this point, with the amount of girls that you've coached and the amount of your own girls, you would have had at least some kind of insight to the female mind.
I'm clueless. No, I do. I think that they have a lot going on, and I try to recognize that. You can tell when some of them are not in the best mindset, and how that affects their mindset overall. So, overall, I think that I've learned through my own children who are now adults, and through 12 plus years in one way, shape, or form at the high school level. I like to think that I kind of know what's going on, but I don't kid myself to think that I'm an expert by any means.
When you go into the little bit of preparation we were talking about earlier on with having a couple of days between playing Wapak and playing OG, both on the road, which are not easy places to win, first of all, how do you look even at when OG played Wapak? Or do you just go, okay, well, we see X, we're just going to do what we do?
Yeah, that's pretty much how we've always been. We don't do a whole lot of specialization from game to game because we're fairly confident in how we do things. Now, obviously, sometimes that works, sometimes it doesn't. But playing and winning at both of those facilities is tough. So when you come in, they're very well aware of what OG is capable of, and who the threats are. Although at OG you can flip a coin and move those threats all around the field. So that is a challenge in and of itself. But we just get right back to business and do what we do, and we prepare the way that we have prepared with the I guess the general concept of A, B, and C for this opponent. But we don't change a whole lot overall. So we've had some great seasons where that's worked out, and some that it hasn't worked out as well. But overall, we're pretty confident in our process. I've been absolutely blessed to have the same two assistant coaches with me. We lost one this year. She's raising her family, but I've had Jeff James and Ashley Petresky with me for all of my 7 years as the head coach, and I trust them implicitly. So I turn over the defense to Coach James, and Coach Ashley takes the offense, and then we throw some things in there in between, and hope it pays off in spades.
Talking to Nick Wilson, the head girls soccer coach at St. Mary's. Rough Riders off to a 5-4 start, but 3-0 in the league. And I know you guys are only playing a half JV. OG's got some problems. They have 25 girls in their program, something that is going back around because you guys have had already 4 or 5 games where there's been no JV. But do you know that you should probably bring your money and get it's Build Your Own Burger Night there in Glandorf?
Oh, I like that. No, I did not know that, but I appreciate the heads up. Yeah,
that's half the reason that I'm doing the game.
Well, that should be your full reason. Soccer is an extra on top of that, but Build Your Own Burger.
I won't tell Michelle Mack you said that.
No, the struggle for us this year is that we're one of the very few programs that are actually absolutely flush with players. We've never been in this situation. We have 41 girls on the roster, and last night at Wapak was the third full JV game that they have played. They've played 3.5 JV games, which the first full game was at Dublin, which was a similar outcome for them on the 16th of August, and then we scheduled a second JV only with Coldwater on that next Monday, whatever that was, the 19th. And then we got one half of Liberty Benton, and then they hadn't played since then. So, we're running into some struggles of, it's tough to come out here and those JV players bust their tail just like the varsity players. And there hasn't been a whole lot of payoff for them. They're working through those weeks where it's been a gazillion degrees, and then have no game to come out and play and put those skills to use. So we're actually seeing some of those players that are becoming deconditioned just because we haven't had the opportunities to get them out there on the field. And I pray we're trying. So out of the 17 original JV games that we had scheduled, we lost 9, and then we've added 2 additional, and I think a third is on the way. But that's tough. Yeah, that's tough for them to come out and you want to keep them engaged and loving the sport. And it's a little tough when you're just coming out to practice and not getting the games in. So we appreciate, we were in this situation a couple of years ago where we played a lot of 1/2 only games just because of numbers. But it's a challenge, and like I said, it's a blessing for us to have 41, but it's kind of a blessing and a curse at the same time right now.
As we sit right now, you guys, OG, Shawnee, and Bath are all unbeaten in the Western Buckeye League through some kind of 1 win, 3 wins, 2 ties kind of soccer thing. Does the league's top half right now, and even Salina right there, you guys gave them their only loss. Does the league surprise you right now with as good as it is? I mean, at least 1 through 5?
No, not really. I think that every year I anticipate, you can never discount anyone, but if you don't bring it for at least 7 of your opponents, 8 of your opponents, in the league, in league play, you're very likely going home with a tie or a loss. So overall, no, it doesn't surprise me in the least. Now, the outcomes of some of those are surprising. You go in thinking, but I guess it just that hammers home my point that it's not surprising. You think going in that so and so is coming away with a victory, and they come out with a tie or maybe a loss. So it is a beastly league, and one of my pet peeves, I guess, in the soccer world is we hear a lot of outside chatter from Northeast Ohio and Southwest Ohio that are the way we play soccer. Here in West Central Ohio is a different animal, and it's whether it's different or I don't know, but I've had some conversations or some minor disagreements with some coaches from those areas that had said maybe not so nice things about the way we play soccer here, and I think if they stacked up 3 or 4 of those top 5 WBL teams on their schedule, that they'd have some competitive soccer matches.
Maybe that's one thing we can work on. We can work on a showcase for the future.
There you go. We've made our runs to Northeast Ohio, and again, I'm all for chasing good competition, but I also like some change of pace, if you will. So we picked up Troy this year, which was we haven't typically gone south. We've tended to go more north and northeast. So we had a scrimmage with Tip in the summer, and it's good to see some different teams and different styles, and hopefully that pays off at the end for a better program in general.
Well, good luck to you guys on Thursday night. Enjoy the trip, and I wish you all the best throughout the course of the rest of the season.
I appreciate it. If you get the opportunity, I would take a bacon cheeseburger with some barbecue sauce and some onions. You could bring it over to the sideline.
That's a Rough Rider burger on Friday night. That's a whole other conversation.
I appreciate you,
I know
Kern.
some people. We'll see what happens. That's Nick Wilson, the head coach at St. Mary's. Big game on Thursday night with OG. Back in a few here on K94.
Mike and Diane Lammers at Logon Computers, 419-523-6424, has been building and repairing computer systems for over 35 years. Logon Computers can solve all your computer problems and needs. Honesty, integrity, and cost efficient are the hallmarks of any successful business. Trust Logon Computers to save your time and money, but most importantly, your data. Again, call Mike and Diane Lammers at Logon Computers, 419-523-6424, for on-site and in-person support.
Again, a big thank you to Braylen Harlamert and Nick Wilson for being a part of the show this week, and I've got a handful more things coming your way. I'm working on a really neat interview, I think, with a young lady who played in the WNBA. That's coming up potentially at episode number 150, but I cannot thank you enough for listening and supporting this little show. Tell your friends. Get out and watch high school sports, support high school sports, tune into the radio, find yourself a cast, and enjoy what we all love, high school sports.
We hope you've enjoyed this edition of Around the Hearn. Come back next week for more local stories from the NWO. But until then, be sure to follow us on Twitter at Michael Hearn PBP for more great area content.